All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Jewish Inspiration Podcast. We're going to do a short and sweet segment on Shloshet Yemei Hagbalah, the 3 days that the Jewish people were preparing themselves for receiving the revelation at Mount Sinai. And if we turn to the portion of in the portion in Exodus, chapter 19, verse 1 through verse 26, which is the whole chapter, verse 25, and then the first verse of the next chapter, chapter 20, we will see the amazing preparation that the Jewish people had for receiving the Torah. So firstly, they arrive on a Sunday from Rephidim to Har Sinai. They get to Mount Sinai at Rosh Chodesh on the first day of the month of Sivan. That's the first time they arrive at Mount Sinai. Then, and there's no revelation on that day. The second day, now they rested a little bit. They were a week from the travel the day before. Now they're there at Mount Sinai. So now the instructions begin. So it says, B'chodesh hashlishi, lotzeis b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim, on the third month from when the Jewish people left Egypt. By Yom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai. On that day, on the first day of the month of Sivan, they arrived at Mount Sinai. By Yisum Refidim, and they traveled from Rephidim. By Yevo Midbar Sinai, and they arrived at Sinai. By Yachanu Bamidbar, and they camped in the desert. Very important words now. Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Ahar. And the Jewish people camped opposite the mountain. Our sages say, why does it need to say Vayichan Sham? The word Vayichan comes from the term Chen. They found favor in the eyes of the Almighty. It wasn't just they were traveling, they were busy. It was a harrowing few months where they were in Egypt. They had the plagues that they witnessed on the Egyptians. They had the splitting of the sea. They had fighting with Amalek. They had a lot of things going on. And now they finally arrive at their destination, the destination in Har Sinai. Umoshe Allah Elho Elohim vayikra elav Hashem. And Moshe goes up the mountain towards God, and Hashem calls him in a har from the mountain. Hashem calls him Leimor, saying, Ko somar leves Yaakov v'tagid livnei Yisrael. Hashem says to him, so shall you say to the house of Yaakov, to the children of Israel. A lot of details here. We're not going to get into everything. But that was on the first day. The second day, Atem re'isem es asher asisi l'Mitzrayim. You've seen, you've witnessed everything that I did to the Egyptians. Ve'esa eschem al kanfei nesharim v'avo eschem elai. V'avei eschem elai. You witnessed everything that I've done. I'm going to carry you on an eagle's wing, on the wings of eagles, and I'm going to bring you to me. And now, if you listen to my word, to my declaration, and you keep my treaty, and you'll be to me for a nation, from all the nations, because all of the lands, everything is mine. And you will be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The word goy means nation. Goy kadosh means a holy nation. These are the things that you shall speak to the Jewish people. And Moshe gathers together all of the elders of the nation. All of the things that Hashem commanded him, he tells the elders. The elders are going to tell them to the leaders of each tribe, and then each tribe leader is going to tell it to his people. And the entire nation, once they heard everything, they said, whatever Hashem says, we're going to do. No questions asked. Whatever Hashem says. Vayoshev Moshe es divrei ha'am el Hashem. And Moshe returns the word from the people to Hashem. And then the verses continue telling us all of the instructions on the third day. What Moshe says, tomorrow you will begin, which is Tuesday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, you're going to begin to prepare yourselves for this incredible revelation. Vayomer Hashem, Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, Hina nochi bo elecha ba'ava anon, I'm going to come to you in the thick of the clouds. Ba'avur yishma ha'am divrei amcha, v'gam b'cha ya'aminu la'olam, so that they are able to hear everything, and additionally they will believe in you forever, Moshe. Vayagid Moshe's divrei amel Hashem, and again Hashem responds and tells Moshe responds and tells Hashem what the people say. Vayomer Hashem Moshe, and Hashem says to Moshe, Lecha la'am, go to the people. Ukdashtem hayom u'mocha v'chipsu simlosam. V'chipsu simlosam. He says to Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, go to the people and tell them to be holy, and when should they be holy? Today and tomorrow. V'chipsu simlosam, and they should wash their clothes. V'hayu nechonim liyom hashlishi, and they should be ready for the third day. Ki bayom hashlishi yired Hashem le'enei kol ha'am al har Sinai. Everyone should be prepared for that third day, because that third day, I'm going to descend. Hashem will descend to the eyes of all the people at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai. V'higbalta esam, and you should limit the people, which the word Hagbalah comes from, limit, to prepare yourself. They should be limited around the mountain. Saviv lemar, all around the mountain. Hishamru lachem alos bahar, v'nogea b'katzeu kol hanogea bahar mos yumas. Nobody should even touch the mountain, because anyone who touches the mountain will die. Lo sigabo, don't even touch it with your hand. Yad, even with the hand. Ki sakol yisakel o yoro yiyora im behema im ish lo yichye b'msho chayovel hema yalu bahar. Anybody who touches the mountain, anybody who goes up the mountain is not going to survive. Vayered Moshe minahar, Moshe descends from the mountain. Ela'am, to the people. Vayikadesh es ha'am vayichabsu simlosum. So the next day, what happens? Now it's Wednesday, Thursday, and then they're going to have a full Friday, and then Shabbos, which is the seventh day, according to most opinions. It was the seventh day, not the sixth. That's 6 days from when they arrived at Mount Sinai till they actually received the Torah. Now, what does it mean when we say receive the Torah? Not actually receive the Torah. They received the revelation of the Torah. They received the relationship. This is when we got committed in our relationship with Hashem. The ring, which was the Torah, that brings back that recollection all the time, that was only given 40 years later when Moshe dies. All the time between the revelation till Moshe dies, they're getting parts of the Torah being taught to them. Piece by piece, they're learning. Then Moshe says, Vayomer al'am, he says to the Jewish people, Heyu nechonim l'shloshes yamim, prepare yourself for 3 days. Al tikshu la'isha, don't approach the woman. No relations during these 3 days. That means it's a time to now purify ourselves, to make ourselves holy, to make ourselves ready to receive the Torah. And then the verses continue. I encourage everyone to study and read through Exodus 19. Chapter Exodus 19. Then you go to Exodus 20, and then you'll see the 10 Commandments. But this is the preparation. So there's an actual commandment where the Torah explicitly commands us to prepare for the receiving of the Torah. The Torah explicitly tells us to prepare. You know, there are many customs that we do during these 3 days. I remember when I was in yeshiva, and I've always heard of Shloshet Yemei Hagbalah, the 3 days prior to Shavuot. You prepare yourself for Shavuot, for receiving the Torah. But what's the big deal? What's the big deal about these days? I'll tell you something remarkable. Our sages tell us that many of the Hasidic masters would lock themselves in a room those 3 days. And they'll tell their followers, they'll tell their Hasidim, don't bother me for the next 3 days. Why? Why is it so powerful, these 3 days? Because these 3 days determine your Torah that you're going to learn for the rest of the year. Shavuot is like the Rosh Hashanah for Torah. We have the Rosh Hashanah for life. That's Rosh Hashanah. When we blow the shofar. We have the Rosh Hashanah for trees. We have the Rosh Hashanah for months, which is the beginning of the month of Nisan. Then we have the Rosh Hashanah for Torah. Our sages tell us that it's so important to prepare properly for the Rosh Hashanah for Torah that we don't want any interruptions. We just want to sit and learn and learn and learn all day. When I was in yeshiva, I started saying, so the first time when I was in yeshiva in Israel, I was 15 years old, they put up a sign, a big spreadsheet, which had 72 lines on it for the 72 hours prior to Shavuot. And every guy took a shift that they were on duty to sit and learn, so that for 3 days there was non-stop learning. Now, I was new to the game, so the slot that was available for me was like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
But me and my study partner, we got up at 3 a.m. and we learned till 6 a.m. And the 6 a.m. crew came in, and from 5:55 till the end of their time frame, their shift, they were learning. And so on and so forth. Non-stop learning Torah for 3 days. Why? Why is it so important? Because this is the Rosh Hashanah. We want to have blessing. This is what we need to do. And it's an amazing thing. In Jerusalem, it used to be, in the old Jerusalem days, there was a custom that all the stores would close early during these 3 days. Like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, all the stores would close. So that the shopkeepers can also go to the study halls, go to the shuls, and study Torah. We're about to receive the Torah, and we're going to just be busy with our stores. We have to prepare ourselves. They say that in Poland, 2 weeks before already, 2 weeks, not 3 days, 2 weeks before Shavuot, people were already packed to capacity in all the shuls, in all the study halls. They say that one of the Ger Rebbes once came into a Beis Medrash, into a study hall in Jerusalem 3 days before Shavuot. And he looks, and it's not so full. He says, where are the Jews from the Altaheim? Where are the Jews from the old home back in Poland when the study halls would be packed with people? He says, where's that today? Why don't we have that anymore today? They say that the Belzer Rebbe, in his study hall, it was filled to capacity, and someone once came in and he saw all the fervor and the excitement, the energy that people were studying Torah with. There was such excitement, such energy. And this guy was an ignoramus. He didn't really know much Torah. So he started banging on the wall, begging Hashem, please give me the ability to learn Torah. I don't know anything. He takes the first book that he took out of the shelf, whatever Talmud it was, and just started learning. He's not going to talk the talk. He's going to walk the walk. He's actually going to open up a book. And they say, the story goes, that he had so much delicious flavor of Torah in what he was studying, that he ended up studying and becoming an unbelievable scholar. And the Belzer Rebbe, after that story, this individual ended up publishing a book in deep Kabbalistic secrets. And the Belzer Rebbe would have that book on his shelf to always remind him that it's not just wanting. You have to actually go ahead and do it. Throw yourself into it. You know, there's a commandment that we don't eat matzah from Rosh Chodesh Nisan, from the beginning of the month of Nisan. Some people already don't for 30 days prior to Pesach. We don't eat matzah so that we come into Pesach with an appetite for matzah. It's like when you limit yourself from something, then you want it so much more. You limit yourself from matzah, you're going to want to eat matzah. You limit yourself from pizza. You say, I'm taking a 30-day break, I'm not eating pizza. After 30 days, you're like, you have this craving, you have this desire, like, I can't wait to have my pizza. So why don't we do this for Torah? Why don't we say, you know what, people shouldn't learn Torah for 30 days prior to Shavuot, or a week before Shavuot. That way they come to Shavuot and they have such an appetite for Torah. And they'll just want to learn more and more and more. So our sages tell us that Torah is different than all other pleasures. All other pleasures, the more you experience that pleasure, the less exciting it becomes. Right? If you like chocolate, so you eat chocolate, but eventually it doesn't do it for you anymore. Okay, how much chocolate? You know, my father, when he became bar mitzvah, one of his aunts bought him an entire case of chocolate. And my father became sick of chocolate. He didn't want to eat any more chocolate because he had so much chocolate that the chocolate was no longer tasteful for him. He never had an appetite for, like, he doesn't crave chocolate anymore. It's just like burnt it out. Torah is not the same. Torah, the more we learn, the greater our appetite grows. In our prayers every morning, we have a special blessing for the Torah. We say, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Amim, Hashem, you've chosen us from all the nations. We say a blessing, Lasok B'dir V'Sorah, to be immersed in Torah study. And then we say, V'ha'arevna, Hashem, please make the Torah sweet. Not only for us. It should be sweet for our children, for ourselves. It should be sweet for our children. It should be sweet for our great, 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 great grandchildren. They should have the flavor, the joy, the taste of Torah. That's what we want. And that's why we learn Torah. Every time we learn Torah, it should be sweet, and it should become sweeter each time we go back to learning the Torah. So if we notice, there are 26 verses that precede the 10 Commandments. And there are 13 verses of the 10 Commandments. There are 13 verses talking about the preparation. There are 26 verses preparing us for the receiving of the Torah, and only 13 verses of the 10 Commandments. Our sages tell us this teaches us that the preparation for receiving the Torah should be double our efforts in Torah. That means we should work hard to build and prepare for being a receptacle for the Torah. That's what we need to do. We need to work on preparing ourselves for the Torah. So what do we do? How do we get to a point of receiving the Torah? So the first thing, got cut off my notes, but the first thing is in our mind to prepare ourselves. From Shavuot is going to be on Thursday night, so that means we have Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday. So starting Monday night already, to start preparing ourselves. We're about to approach Shavuot. We're about to prepare Shavuot. I would like to ask everyone listening to this podcast, everyone watching this presentation online, and every one of you here in the classroom, to think of a goal of something you want to learn this coming year. Take a book of Midrash to learn through, to read the entire Torah. to accept upon yourself something this year. Because it's Rosh Hashanah. What do we do Rosh Hashanah? We say, Hashem, this year, it's going to be a good year. You know why? Because I have so many plans, so many things I'm going to do to become a better person. In Torah, we need to do the same. To accept upon ourselves to do something special this coming year. Where we say, Hashem, let's say, I'm going to learn 1 page of Talmud. Page of Talmud? I don't know anything about Talmud. Well, let's get started. The first thing starts with a Kabbalah, accepting upon ourselves. We see that in the beginning of this week's parish, in the portion that talks about it, it says, "Ve'ata im shamoa tishma'u bekoli." And now, if you hear my word, if hear you shall hear my word. Our sages tell us, Ata, right now, accept upon yourself. Then you know what will happen? Shamoa tishma'u. You will hear. You'll see unbelievable things, because the first part of growing in Torah is not the actual Torah study. It's the accepting upon ourselves for the Torah study, where we say, you know what, I'm going to learn through the laws of the Chafetz Chaim this year, and I'm going to be more careful in my speech. I'm going to learn the laws of mezuzah and perform them properly. I'm going to learn the laws of Torah, the laws of Talmud Torah, how to study Torah. So, an entire chapter in the Rambam about this. Entire section, not a chapter, it's an entire section on studying Torah. The proper way to do it, what we should focus on. But if we can all take upon ourselves one thing to change our lives, I want to share with you that I'm very proud of our podcasts here at Torch. And a friend of mine called me this week, and he says, I was just in Israel, and I was eating by some family in Har Nof, and I met this student who was also a guest there. And we got into a conversation. The student asks him, where are you from? He says, I'm from Houston. He says, you're from Houston. Do you know Rabbi Wolbe? He says, yes, of course I know Rabbi Wolbe. He says, well, I'm in yeshiva today because of his podcasts. I said, wow. He said, wow, did you ever relay your transformation and talk about your inspiration that you've had with Rabbi Wolbe? He says, no, never. He says, well, I'm going to tell him. He's going to be so happy. So I want to turn to our fellow listeners and tell you, there's nothing that makes me happier or prouder that these podcasts actually have an inspiration. And I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to hear your inspiration, particularly before the holiday of Shavuot, when we're working hard to grow and to connect. And if you're able to share with me what it is that you're going to take your step in growth in Torah, it'll make my day. Absolutely make my day. So I invite you all to email me at awolbe@torchweb.org, awolbe@torchweb.org. Nothing will make me happier than to hear your journey. Don't worry, I'm a nice guy. I don't bite. And I'll be more than happy to reply to your email and thank you for your kind words of encouragement. If there are. Now, this is towards the later part of the podcast. It's possible people don't even listen this far in. It's possible they just listen in the beginning. They're like, okay, I'm done. I'm out. But if you are listening, please, I encourage you, send me a message. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see it. And it's definitely a great point of encouragement when I get these little emails that, not little, they're great emails, but that of encouragement. Another thing that I wanted to share is that our sages tell us that if a person merits properly and prepares properly for Shavuot, the Kedushas Levi, Reb Levi Yitzchak from Barditchev says, they can merit on Shavuot to actually hear the 10 Commandments as it was declared 3,300 years ago at Mount Sinai. Those sounds are reverberating in the world. They say sound waves never leave. They're here. You can merit to attract that sound that God declared, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God, just as it was 3,300 years ago. Hashem should bless us all that with proper preparation, we should all merit to hear that amazing sound and hopefully prepare ourselves properly for this holiday of Shavuot. It should be an unbelievable revelation for all of us where Hashem's Torah comes clear to us every single day. Thank you and have a great Shabbos. And I look forward to hearing from you, all of you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Now, one second. To those of you